Jacob Davis with Rockit Solar. So, welcome to the show, man. You want to give everybody the elevator pitch? Who you are, what you do, and who you do it to?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me out. I really appreciate the opportunity. And like you said, Jacob Davis, Rockit Solar. I'm an independent solar consultant under Powur.
Okay.
Powur is the corporation. They're out of California. They've been out since 2014, leading the industry, leading the market here in the U.S. We have 5,000 consultants throughout the U.S.
Okay.
So a huge corporation, huge company. They're actually classified as a PBC. So they're doing a public benefit corporation, right?
Oh, okay.
Giving back,
Yep.
So they help out quite a bit. You can reach me at www.rockitsolar.com. I'm local here in San Antonio, but we can actually sell solar in 23 states right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got business, established in 23 states throughout the U.S.
How come 23 states? And do you have to have special licensing, or how come only 23 states?
Yeah, so some states do require some licensing to engage and sell solar, but Powur has established 23, relationships out there.
Okay.
So basically, contractors and, all that great stuff, licensing and permitting, with the local city. And not every state right now, it makes sense to go solar.
Yeah.
And not every customer, it's going to make sense to go solar, Some of the northern states, they don't have sunlight, as long as Texas would, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or California or even Florida. So
you've been retired. You were, you worked for the city for 22 years?
Yeah, man. So I actually worked for the county. For Bexar County, 22 years of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
I know I don't look that old, right?
No, actually, you really don't.
Yeah, man. I'll be 50 this year.
No doubt.
Yeah. I love to say that nowadays because people are like, really? Like, yeah, man. So I'm the oldest cat on the hill over there. But I my background was social work. I worked with kids, youth, juvenile delinquents.
How did you get into that?
It's funny because it was the quickest and easiest degree I could achieve.
Really? Okay.
I spent too much time in college. I had a great time, and I love to tell people, I went to Southwest Texas before it was Texas State. And if anybody knows the history about, SWT, up the road in San Marcos, it took me a little longer to get that degree. So I ended up back in San Antonio and graduated from UTSA, so I'm a road runner.
Okay.
And but yeah, criminal justice was something that really interested me and intrigued me. So I followed that path, and those courses I just really liked. But I also studied the social background of everything with it. A little bit of psychology and sociology that went along with it. So a bunch of those classes also. And, the first few years, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college. I really wasn't going for the right reasons.
It's funny you say that. My son, he's 21. My son.
Yeah.
He texted me earlier today. He texts me these off-the-wall questions sometimes. And one of them was about, he asked me, he says, kids that don't go to college, do you feel like, or what did he say? He said something about college and associating that with what you want to do for the rest of your life. And I said, son, I don't think there's a whole lot of 20-somethings that know what they want to do for the rest of their life. And I don't think that that's fair to put that responsibility on a 20-something-year-old. So
yeah, so I'll tell you the path. I was working part-time for the YMCA, right after high school, working with kids, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed working with kids, and but studied criminal justice and, corrections and those things. And I really, my idea was I wanted to be a prison warden.
Okay.
I wanted to work,
how old were you when you were thinking this?
In my 20s.
In your 20s? Early 20s, mid 20s?
Early 20s, right after high school. I was like, you know what? I want to go down this path, and, I want to work in a correctional facility. And I did. I actually worked for a private corporation here called Whack and Hut many years ago. It was a private corporation, and we housed contracted, folks for Bexar County. And after about a year, I decided I didn't want to work with adults in the correctional facilities. It just wasn't what it was chalked up to be.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And so my background working with kids at the Y, and then studying criminal justice in school, I had taken a course in juvenile delinquency. And there was a lady that came and spoke to us. I'll never forget her name, Pam Towers. And she talked to us about juvenile probation. I thought, juvenile probation, what is that, And well, it was kids that had made mistakes, and just like adults, wound up on probation.
Okay.
You know, the judge put them on probation and gave them some sanctions and things to do. And and if they could follow through with that, they'd get off probation successfully and go about their business.
Okay.
I thought, man, that's pretty cool, you know. And so I stumbled into that, man, in 1997.
What would you say is your most common case back then? What would you say you saw the most of?
You know, in the late 90s, a lot of assault.
Yeah.
You know, because it seemed like the school districts were going heavy on kids, you know, for zero tolerance stuff. You know, so tons of kids are getting scooped up because they had a school fight.
Oh.
You know, and it was silly. It was ridiculous, you know. And luckily the judges that I worked with for many, many years, you know, had heart, you know, had compassion for the kids, you know, and they really cared. And
have you been able to maybe navigate or put some of these kids in the right direction and see them come out of some situations where it's like, you know,
I'm going to say this, man, you and I both ride, you know, and we've ridden, you know, for many years, right? There's a guy sitting over there at Harley Davidson that'll give you his story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I took him over to Fabian Del Dominguez State Jail. He must've been about 15 probably at the time. And I would take kids over there in the late 90s, early on when I started with juvenile. And I would take kids on a tour of the facility, and they would talk to some inmates there in a program that the state had put together that allowed not as full on scared straight, because that shit didn't really work, man.
Right.
But more heart to heart, straight up talk, you know. And there's a guy sitting over there at Harley Davidson, man. He knows me very well. We've become friends over the years, and
that's awesome.
It was cool to connect with him. You know, when I met up with him, he's like, "Hey, man, you used to work at Precinct 2 over there on Bandera Road, right?" I was like, "Nah, man, that's not me. Yeah, I'm the wrong guy, because he's pretty big now. Yeah. He's a pretty big dude, you know." Yeah.
So how did you get from probation officer to Rockit Solar? How did this transition happen? Jeff
Garza of the Redbird Realty. He actually worked with me at the county.
Okay.
And he was one of my POs in my unit, the West Side. And we became great friends over the years, great family friends.
Nice.
His father, you know, was very dear to me, and we had a great relationship as family, right, all of us. And he ended up leaving the county, Jeff did, and went into real estate. And we didn't have much communication for a little while, because many folks know he had a very successful real estate career as an agent, right? Did very well for himself. And, you know, after some time, you know, we linked back up, and he started talking to me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to open up my own brokerage." I said, "Well, cool, man, you know, go for it. You'll do well, you know?"
Yeah.
And I had another business going on that my wife and I still own, Rockit Courier. And so we were doing process serving and courier work, you know, in the evenings and weekends and stuff. And he's like, "Man, well, when are you going to retire?" I said, "Well, I'm not ready to retire. You know, I've only got," at the time, I think I had like 20 years in or something, you know. And I mean, only a fool leaves, you know, after 20 years from a government job. Yeah. You're going to leave with nothing, right? You're going to leave with what you came in with, man. You're not taking a huge, you know, retirement away. And he kept working on me a little bit, you know, and then he's like, I said, "Man, I'm not really interested in real estate, man." And he said, "No, it's not really real estate what I need you for." And he said, "I need you more in the admin side." So I have an admin role, you know, in management with his company, Redbird Realty.
I'm a fan of anybody starting a business for themselves.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of that, and I'll be your advocate. I hope, unless your building is right next to mine and you're doing exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to cheer you on.
Yeah.
So watching him grow, right, when he got his second place right up the road here, yeah. Chase and I, we went in there to size up some stuff for some print work or whatever. And I was just so thrilled for the guy, you know. I don't think that he realized how happy I was for him.
Yeah.
You know, that's exciting, man. That's exciting. I had Leo on here with the National Best Credit Solutions, I think it is. And same thing, you know, when he moved into his second, I feel so proud to be able to talk to somebody that's going through these growth things. So anyway, you said, Jeff, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. So that's how, I ended up leaving the county. You know, I was doing a little bit of, I was doing some contract work. I had added to Rockit Courier a little bit and was doing some PI work, some private investigation work, for a lady here in town. And I love her to death, man. She's a great PI. I learned a lot from her, but, I moved on from the county, retired. And my idea was that I was going to do a little bit of work with Jeff over there and work on Rockit Courier, and pandemic hit. And shit just got real weird, man.
Yeah.
You know, serving people wasn't as easy, even though it wasn't easy before. It got a little more difficult because people's tensions were higher. You know, knocking on somebody's door in a mask, you know, it's just not as easy as it was without the mask.
Yeah.
You know, so we've made a transition.
How does Powur work? Do they sell their own branded equipment?
So, yeah, that's a great question, man. So Powur essentially brings all the players to the platform.
Okay.
So Powur brings all the contractors, the goods, everybody who's got everything to the platform. And then the solar consultant or solar pro brings the customer.
Okay.
So essentially Powur's the middleman in all of that, right? They provide a beautiful platform for us to utilize, you know, for our proposals and everything else. So we put everything in there. But yeah, they bring put all the players at the table.
Your market area is San Antonio and Nevada, right? Las Vegas.
Yeah. So you asked the question on the questionnaire, and you know, I put San Antonio, Nevada, because that's where I've marketed right now. But we can actually sell solar through Powur, and we've got support in place for 23 states.
So, what I was getting at a minute ago about the actual branded equipment was, if I had a house in Texas or if I had a house in Nevada, it doesn't matter. Powur is going to utilize whatever equipment, team, people, whatever. So I mean, I could have you know, in Nevada, or I could have, you know, something else in Texas. It just kind of depends on where the supply chain is. I mean, because Powur, it sounds like Powur is they're utilizing everything that they can to the location of the house or the job or whatever.
Sure.
Right?
So Powur has established all those relationships out there in the industry, right? So product wise, I mean, you know, about 5 different, you know, panels, 4 or 5 different panel options, right? All top quality, right? I won't give one over the other, right? Per se, but you know, Powur's been around since 2014. You know, so they have the relationships established. So a small mom and pop business, you know, that may be in business now, in solar, could struggle to have all those relationships, or even product on hand, right?
Well, I think one of the big things about this industry is the support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna go with a local mom and pop, you know, and this is what the show is about. So I'm not roasting anybody.
It's okay. Yeah.
But you know, one of the things that I've learned in my life is whenever I'm buying anything, whether it's a Harley or whether it's a pin or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the support behind that. I want to look to see, you know, are you going to be able to stand behind this if happens? You know what I mean? So like with my Harley, you know what I mean? Like I you know, there's a lot of things that I have not added to my bike because I don't want to, you know, I ride my bike all over the country, you know? So like, I don't want to be in California and, you know, a head pipe that I bought in Texas fails on me, and now I got to figure out how to put these two together. You know what I mean? I don't want that to be my job. So it sounds like Powur handles that. I mean, it sounds like they have the support in place for stuff like that.
Yeah, customer satisfaction. You know, I mean, we're looking at, you know, we do 30-year warranties, you know, on product and labor. You know, so. A lot of customers, you'll say, well, you know, I just put a brand new roof, you know, and I don't want to void my roof, you know, an objection, right? They call it a solar objection. I don't want to avoid my warranty because I just put a new roof. I'm interested in solar, but that's really my issue. Okay, well, what's your warranty on your roof? Well, 5 years. Okay, well, would you rather have the 5-year warranty or the 30-year warranty? Because our solar job is going to cover 30 years.
It covers the roof?
No, of our workmanship and our product.
So if your solar panel installation creates a hole in the roof, this is a horrible way to say this, but if there's
an issue as a result,
then y'all come in and say, we need to take care of this.
30-year warranty.
Well, it kind of sounds like that was a better deal for me.
Yeah. I mean, so we have that quite a bit where folks will be like, no, I have a 5-year warranty or a 10-year warranty, left on my roof, and I'd rather not go with solar just yet. I'm going to wait.
Solar panels are placed on the roof wherever the most of the amount of sunlight is.
Yes.
So more often than not, that's not going to be the entire roof. That's going to be a side of the roof that's facing the southern side. Yeah. So back to your warranty analogy here, you got a brand new roof on your house, right? And you put solar panels on this part of the roof. It doesn't seem like that's going to void the entire roof's warranty.
Yeah, that would stand to reason, right?
Right. So I mean, like if you got hail or something like that, it's that still seems like it would apply.
It should still be covered on the other side.
Right. Yeah. So warranty is funny because it's I've dealt with my fair share of warranty claims and things like that. And, there's very specific language sometimes that consumers don't know or realize until it comes time to using the damn thing. Yeah. So, but no, that's good that, you guys, you have that in place. How's COVID affected Powur's supply chain?
So there's been some effect, some of the product we've seen discontinued, that they're not going to be carried any longer. Right. But Powur, being the company and the corporation that they are, they've been able to bob and weave and maneuver through that,
stay ahead of it.
The owner, CEO, he's a smart dude, very smart guy. And he looks at that and keeps it.
Plan A, B, C, and D.
That's right, man. Yeah. He's real active, so we have some Facebook groups that we're in, and he'll update us. We'll get emails, all kinds of stuff, from Powur,
So it sounds like I can't, as a consumer, buy directly through Powur. I have to go through
a consultant
like yourself.
I'll break it down a little easier because most folks don't really understand what's solar, what's it about, how does it work, how does your company work, how does Powur work, like how does all that tie together, and the way I look at it is most folks understand real estate, and most folks understand there's a broker
and
there's an agent. It's pretty identical. There's Powur and then there's a consultant, and the same way in real estate, agents can build a team at a brokerage. So the same way here, with Powur, you can build a team. And as I mentioned, I got 3 consultants, about 20 some odd ambassadors on my team, Team Supreme,
Nice.
And so I got a guy in Vegas, that's on my team, and then throughout San Antonio primarily.
So your team is mainly local?
Primarily, yeah. I got a guy in Vegas that's he's an ambassador to me.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, we were out there. Eric and I were out there for about 11 days, and man, we had a great time. And we did the standard door knocking, talking to folks. And let me tell you, the incentive to going to Vegas was this, permitting. So in Nevada, they have like a 1-day permitting.
Well, and that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense too, because it's hot in Nevada.
Yeah, man. So from the point of contract to permit to install, in some scenarios, you could have your payday before you even jump on the plane to come home.
My God.
You see what I'm saying?
What's the permit process like in San Antonio?
And I've got jobs that are installing like tomorrow and Friday, that they've been about 60 to 90 days.
To get a permit?
Not to get the permit, but to install.
Okay.
So, your first 30 days is typically like your first permit. You're waiting that first 30 days on the city, CPS or whatever, because you got to get CPS, local permit, and then you got to get the city the permit.
How much of the install process are you involved with? Do you?
So I stay with my client all the way from A to Z. But I don't put my hands on any of the equipment.
Sure. No. But I mean, like, you're aware of. So where I'm going with this is, there's lots of different configurations for solar.
Yes.
There's solar panels only. There's panels and batteries. There's full off the grid. There's partial. There's lots of different things that you could do.
Yeah. So the solar like myself, I'll have a consultation with a client, or customer potential, and find out their needs, right? And see if it makes sense for them. What is their desire to look into solar, and then hopefully educate them on the benefits of going solar. If it makes sense to them, then we'll go down that road and we'll build a system based upon their usage. So a lot of people will call and ask, I get calls all the time and they'll say, what's the average solar system cost? Well, that's not really a fair question.
Yeah.
People don't realize
for what condition.
Yeah. Like, are you working from home? Do you have 3 teenagers in the house that are utilizing their electronics all day long and they're homeschooled? There's a lot of those households nowadays,
Who benefits the most from solar in the residential realm of things?
Wow, that's a great question. It depends on what they were looking to accomplish, because we got 2 different types of folks, and then we got the in between, right? So we got folks that say, I just want to save money.
Okay.
I just want to save money. I'm tired of spending $300 a month in utilities, right? And then you got the folks that say, well, I want to help the world a little bit.
Okay.
I want to help out with the, carbon footprint, I want to reduce that, footprint. And how can I help?
Okay.
Well, let's talk about that.
Sure.
So you got the balance of those 2. Somebody who says, well, I'm not really 100% green.
Yeah.
But
I'm
like
all about
the idea.
saving money.
But I am about saving money.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of being able to contribute a little bit,
Well, I think that's a really good, it's a damn shame actually that solar is such a politicized freaking thing.
Sure, man.
You know what I mean? Because it's like now that puts you in a box if you have it or not or whatever. But anyways, the point here for me is that I think all people want to do the good thing, but they don't want to pay to do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So I had a great conversation yesterday with a gentleman who called me, and I explained to him, because he had a misconception. He thought that he was going to have to pay. At the end of the day, he was going to be paying more above and beyond what he's paying now for his utilities. And really, the whole idea, if you're trying to save money, there's a cost of solar equipment. But I tell all my clients that I work with, if your goal is to save money, then let's work on building you a system that'll help reduce your utility cost so much that utility cost combined with the cost of your equipment is less than your current utility bill.
Okay.
So if you're currently paying $300, would you be interested if I could get you into solar for your home at $150 a month?
$150 a month, meaning that's your total bill?
Out the door.
Well, who wouldn't be interested in that?
Exactly. A lot of people.
Yeah. Really?
Believe it or not, a lot of people.
Probably because of the way it's phrased to them, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Well,
so there's.
And then too, right? It's like in today's get rich quick.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you want to make an extra $1,000 a month? Who the hell doesn't want to make $1,000 a month? You know what I mean?
It's still a lot of skepticism.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you just made an analogy of $150 coming from $300. So $300 electric bill. If instead of saying I can save you $150 a month, or would you rather pay $150?
A lot of ways to phrase it.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Well, and it's weird because that'll trigger something different for everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
But so if your electric bill was $150, would you be interested in that instead of $300? You know what I mean? Because I feel like I know I can classify myself in this is whenever somebody proposes something to me, I'm looking for the fine print. I'm like, okay, how did he just phrase that to me?
Yeah.
Would I be interested? Of course I'd be interested. So does that mean da-da-da-da-da?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're saying you can take my $300 electric bill and reduce it down to $150.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah. I mean, if we could cut it in half, would you be interested?
Yeah. Absolutely. Everybody. I think everybody would be open to that conversation. I guess it just
should
has
be
to
at least open to it, right? Like, I mean, if they've already if there's already an interest in solar and their whole idea is to save money, right? If I could get you close to half, to save half, cut that in, half by 50%, right? Would you want to take a look at it, And that's pretty simple. Give me a copy of your most recent utility bill. I'll put a proposal together. Tomorrow we'll reconvene.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it on Zoom or in person, live, whatever you choose. And I'll show you all the numbers, The cost for solar should never be out of pocket up front. So there's no down payment.
Okay.
There's a lot of programs right now. The federal government is giving a lot of incentive, as everybody should know if they haven't heard. Right, federal government's giving great incentives to go solar. So zero down, super stupid low interest rates, man. And I use the word stupid because it is. I mean, I've seen down, 1%, 1.9, 2.9, 3.9. They're super low interest rates.
What is the longest term?
Man, we were doing up to 20 years, and recently one of the financing options increased it to 25.
So does the equipment last that long?
So,
or is it better yet? Is it warranted for that long?
30-year warranties.
So, and that includes anything in the product itself. So, if the solar panels, stop working or they don't chart, if they're not, I know one of the things is degradation, right? So, if they don't perform at what they did when they installed, there's a certain percentage there that you expect, and then anything below that, it's covered.
It should be a warranty issue. Yeah. So with Powur, like I mentioned, they provide a great platform, right? So all of our customers get their own app, right? They log into their app, and they'll be able to monitor right on their app what their system's producing, how it's functioning. If not, they're going to hit that little customer question, the button there, and they're going to reach out to customer service. Whether it be live chat. I use a live chat all the time.
Yeah.
For customer service when I have questions on certain things with projects that I'm, got going on. But our customers get their own app that they can log into and monitor their system. So, if they got panel over there in that corner that's not functioning and it's reading super low, right, for some odd reason, then they reach out to customer service and get somebody out there to take a look at it.
So there is there any type of, there's live monitoring through the customer app, but is there a system in place for, let's say, because I don't want to be looking at this all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
of course,
is there something that says, Powur reaches out to me and says, hey, we noticed that you're not producing the amount of electricity that you were. Is there anything like that yet? Mm-mm. So
that would be,
I think eventually over time,
level,
that's what, people are just so hands off. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think at some point it's got to be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just with Powur. I think with a lot of things
in general.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it is a fair statement to say that you have got solar on people's houses with nothing out of their pocket and cutting their electricity bill. Truly nothing out of their pocket.
That's a true statement, man.
That's awesome, man.
That's and that's as real as it gets.
With a typical, if there is such a thing, a typical install, is it a hybrid of Powur from the provider and Powur from your system? How many completely off the grid systems do you install?
Yeah, it's illegal to go off the grid completely. Unless you're like in the Appalachian Mountains or something, right?
Okay.
Like making moonshine or something, right? But you can get pretty close to off the grid to a scenario where you're not having to pay anything, but your system does shoot back to the grid. You are plugged into them. If the grid is down and you don't have battery backup, you're down.
Right.
That is a common misconception. The panel itself does not really store anything.
Right.
There's an inverter. The panel captures it, goes through the inverter, sends it back to the grid. Mm-hmm. But if the grid is down, there's nothing to capture and invert. Yeah, it's not pulling, right? That's where the battery backups come in. Mm-hmm. So a lot of folks are using batteries.
Can you power your house with, if there was an outage, could you power your house in the sun without batteries?
Oh, without batteries, no.
So
if the grid is down, you're down without a battery.
Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. If the grid is down,
unless you have batteries.
That's your backup, your battery backup. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're halfway through here. I'm gonna do the lightning round.
Uh-oh.
Cue the fancy music. Pick one color, and then I'm going to shuffle them.
I like red.
Red, all right. Red is the Would You Rather deck. So these are called pod decks, and I've got these. Facebook sold me these damn things. You know how they do.
Sure.
But so years ago, 2 years ago, I was going to start a podcast, and then so I bought all this shit to do a podcast with, this included. And then so all this equipment that you see on the desk here was sitting in a box for a little over a year. And this deck of cards, all 4 of these decks of cards were sitten on top.
Nice.
So anyways, pod decks.
Yeah.
Would you rather? I'm going to pull off 3, 4, 5 cards here.
All right.
I'm going to read to you what they say. And just remember, when you're looking at me thinking, this is some goofy shit, you pick the deck.
All right.
All right. Would you rather have a road trip with Donald Trump or O.J. Simpson?
Oh, man. Donald Trump, man. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah. Would you rather have to grow, hunt, and kill your own food or eat only Taco Bell for a year?
Grow and hunt my own food, man. I used to love hunting.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Would you rather take cold showers for the rest of your life or never get more than 4 hours of sleep a night ever again?
Cold showers, man.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I got to have sleep. I got to have sleep. All right. Would you rather appear as a guest on your favorite TV show or have lifetime backstage passes for any concert you want to attend?
I love live music, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So
it moves my soul.
I'm not, let's see here. Well, I'm going to read off the last one here.
All right.
Would you rather wear a monitor that beeps when you're lying or beeps when you're attracted to someone?
Oh shit, that's dangerous.
That's fucked up,
man,
right?
Yeah. Probably the lying, man, because I don't lie
easy.
much.
Yeah, easy to get away from that.
Yeah, I don't really. I can't remember the last time I lied.
Yeah, right. So it's so hard to keep up with.
Sure.
You know what I mean? When people lie, it's just like this is like a saga that you got to carry on with.
That's right, man.
Anyway. What are your expectations for this? Where is the in your mind, what kind of growth? I mean, you said that you're in a good niche of industry because everybody at some point is going to have this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I agree with you on that. But as far as your part, what your growth, you plan on having employees, what kind of revenue, what's the big picture for Rockit Solar for you?
The big picture is, there's so much involved with solar. Mm-hmm. Like we've had the conversation of residential solar, mm-hmm. But it's wide open, man. You mentioned earlier about your dad putting a solar panel on the water tank, heater, water heater or whatever, that's still very real, mm-hmm. So the solar industry as a whole is barely
infancy.
Yeah. Yeah. We're only at like 3.5% penetration in the U.S. Of all the houses, of all the homeowners that qualify to have solar on their home, 3.5% penetration. So that's a lot of opportunity, right?
Yeah, 100%. But so like when you say that qualify, so out of all of the opportunity out there, United States only, and this is going to be a tough question. I'm going to throw it at you anyway.
Okay.
What percentage of all the houses in America would you say qualify? When you were using that term a minute ago.
Yeah, I couldn't give you that answer, man. Yeah, I'm sorry. But not every house qualifies for different reasons, right?
Sure.
Too much shading,
mm-hmm.
right? And the owner doesn't want to make those adjustments. Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't qualify. The house is facing the wrong way, doesn't qualify. And they're not going to get shading, to the side of the house that they need. This may be. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, I was like, shit, am I getting some feedback? This is a new problem for me.
No.
What kind of marketing are you doing?
So, I mean, one of the simplest things is door knocking, every so often I'll take a morning off, from the office,
mm-hmm.
and I'll go door knock, and just talk to folks, put out flyers myself,
Mm-hmm.
And that's grassroots right there. I mean, that's sales,
101.
101, just door knock, and not everybody's receptive. Some folks don't want to talk to you, and that's okay. That's all good, man.
You know what's frustrating, and I'm the not salesman type, so I've always asked people how they're selling shit because I'm like, so like for Acme, I try to let the product sell it for itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just get that product out in front of people. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. You want one? But door knocking, what's I think a big standoff with that is like you could be offering free gold bars to people. And it's like, oh, I don't want none of that here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's do you run into a lot of door slams?
Sure.
We don't want you to get out of here.
Yeah. We've had quite a bit. I've had quite a bit. Like I said, door knocking in Vegas and then door knocking here and, locally. And, it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but, I heard a wise guy not so long ago, that's been in the industry and has been very successful for himself, say he's knocking for no's.
He's knocking for no's. Okay.
The more no's you get to, the closer you're going to get to a yes, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I'm okay that not everybody is interested in talking about solar,
Who would you say is your typical customer?
The typical customer that's gone solar is a person that wants to save money.
Yeah. What does their footprint look like? What does their bill look like? I mean, what is so that typical person that wants to save money? How much money are you able to save them? 50%, 20%, 10%.
I've gotten anywhere like I mentioned earlier. I got a customer. He's at 110% offset. I mean, he's going to be in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the local utility is going to be giving him money.
Yeah.
In a net metering scenario, sometimes that happens. I mean, there are a lot of customers out there that are in that scenario, but I shoot for that 50% range, being comfortable. So we're not overproducing, and if their goal is to save money, right? There's only so much offset you can go and balance what the equipment cost is.
Right.
Because there's a cost for that equipment.
Sure.
So for me, that sweet spot's, anything over 50, 60, 70, 80%, maybe 90% in some scenarios, beyond that, it changes the dynamics depending upon the roof,
Yeah. What's the one thing you wish you knew before you started?
I didn't really understand the dynamics of the objection. So they call it solar objection,
okay.
Right? And for me, using that analogy, like, man, if you could lock in gas prices at 50 cents, like it used to be, would you do it? Well, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Seems so simple for me.
Right.
But there's a lot of solar objection. There's folks that, some old timers that I've come across that won't even give you 2 cents of a word to get out in the conversation with them. Like, sir, would you be interested if I could talk to you about saving money off your utilities? I don't want to talk to y'all. I don't want to talk to anybody about solar. I'm not into that. I'm not interested in it by any means, and they get a little aggressive almost, So I guess if I wish I knew, it would have helped me prepare a little better early on.
Okay.
My first few months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I overcame that and got over it, right?
First few months, I was like, oh man, maybe this was a bad decision.
Yeah, man. I was like, whoa, shit. Like, these folks are, knocking on doors is not as easy as I thought it would be, right? Or talking to people about it. You asked me earlier the question about like marketing and stuff like that. Yeah. I do a lot of marketing through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm always messaging, realtors and seeing if they'd be interested to link up, and although it may make a lot of sense to you and I, for whatever reason, I get a lot of silence.
Yeah.
A lot of silence. A lot of people who just, it doesn't. And, I tell, the realtors that I speak to, I tell them, look, your customers, previous, current, and future, are all going to go solar. Do you just want to be a part of that and help them and maybe make a little bit of income off of it?
Sure.
If not, somebody else is going to help them. Somebody else is going to reap the reward from it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to go solar.
Yeah.
It's happening. I mean, it's here. It's now. It's solar 2.0 is going on now. Solar's not brand new,
right?
But it's new.
So interesting. Jimmy Carter actually put solar panels on the White House.
Really?
That's how old. You know, and I mean, it had to been around before then. So,
man, you got me. You stumped that. You stumped me with that one. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that one. Yeah, because that's a great one, man.
And I think Ronald Reagan took them off. No, I'm dead serious. It's just such a politicized thing. You know, what's the biggest mistake that you've made as an entrepreneur?
Man, that's a great question. Biggest mistake I made as an entrepreneur. I think, you know, one of the things I learned when I got into Rockit Solar was having gone to California and Mentor Factory, listening from a lot of guys who have been successful in the solar industry, is planting your flag, right? You got to plant your flag, right? Burn ships, right? And I think in some of the ventures I've been involved in, I wasn't ready to do that.
Okay.
I thought I was, you know, I thought I was doing that, but it's not till now that I really understand what that means.
Sure.
You know, so a lot of people talk about additional revenue, you know, streams of revenue and all this other stuff. Well, shit, man, if you got 12 businesses that aren't producing crap, you know, is that really worth it, right? Planting your flag, and burning your ship. So that you're 100% in on that.
Right.
You know, if that's your focus, if that's your business, be 100% on that business, you know.
You know, I've heard it said, you know, plan B distracts from plan A.
Sure.
And I get that. And to some degree, I agree with that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have an exit strategy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, you know, a contingency, you know, which is what plan B is, you know. But I mean, it doesn't mean you can't be laser focused on plan A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, especially anybody that's got kids or a family, you know, you want to make sure that you don't want to put your family in some good. If I was a 40-year-old single person, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of risks I'm willing to take because it's like at the end of the day, all I got to do is put food in my you know what I mean?
Yeah. And some gas in the car.
Yeah. You know, whatever.
Gas in the bike.
Yeah. So, you know, it's tough, I think, whenever you're starting a business, running a business, and you have a family, you know what I mean? And then, you know, whenever you want to start to diversify into different, you know, different revenue streams or whatever, it's like, you know, there's definitely a way to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's the best advice you ever received?
So in building a team and, you know, in building a business and anything like that, right? You're going to have folks work for you, right? And you're going to have folks that love you, and then you're going to have folks that hate your guts. The key is to figure out who's who. Okay. And the ones that hate your guts, you need to bring them closer to you.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, those are the ones that can burn your ship.
That's the cancer. Could be
That's
the cancer. Do you think Rockit Solar is going to have, you're going to have any employees?
I know we touched on that earlier. You know, the whole idea is to eventually build it up to where we have employees. Okay. You know, because there's so many things. Residential solar is just the tip of the iceberg, man. You know, solar can be so many things, you know, offered. So as a business offering solar consulting, right, we're kind of watching that market and trying to see what's ahead and what's coming out. So we're not just offering residential solar.
Back to your probation days, what skill set do you think you learned doing that?
Yeah.
Your 9 to 5? Were you able to bring to your entrepreneur life? I don't want to keep just pointing to Rockit Solar,
sure,
because you've done a lot of things.
I have,
even though Rockit Solar is your focus right now.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to be under the misconception that, you know, you don't have the resume.
Yeah.
So,
man. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that. I mean, I'll go back to the first business, you know, opened up a business. I must have been about 20 years old, you know, with my mom. My mom wanted to do a resale shop. There's resale shops everywhere now. But, you know, almost 30 years ago, you know, we opened up a resale shop out on Naco Perrin. And that was my first experience in business. Not 20, man, I didn't give a shit.
Sure.
I wasn't interested in reselling kids, you know, toys and clothes, right? But my mom was. She saw the vision. She knew where it was headed. And it was a great business for her, but I just couldn't support her at the time. Sure. You know, I wanted something different, you know, in business. And so I went many years without having any entrepreneurship going on. Like I was not an entrepreneur for many years, although I had the desire, right? I just didn't. But yeah.
So, you know, I think so. Okay, right now, if you turn on the news, or if you read the news, or if you hear the news, or however you're getting the news,
Sure.
I'm sure at some point people are hearing, the whole Great Resignation.
Yeah.
That's also been rebuilt as the Great I don't want to say redistribution, but the Great Reshuffle or something like that.
Yeah.
So people are quitting their jobs because they, COVID has changed people. So there's a lot of entrepreneurship happening right now.
Yeah.
More so than I would say years past. But I feel like, though, my parents' generation, there was a lot more of it then.
Yeah.
And I need to look into this because I'm probably showing what an idiot I am. But it just seemed like, people, the 9 to 5 thing was, yeah, I mean, and also the same generation, people, my parents' generation, it seems like, if you got a job, it was for like a blue chip company,
Yeah.
you were loyal, yada, 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 you were there forever.
Yeah.
Or you did a whole bunch of odd jobs, Sanford and Son or something, what I mean? So what's the best entrepreneur advice that you can give somebody who's on high center, who's just stuck, who wants to do it but doesn't know how to do it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of experts.
Sure.
There's a lot of people that'll tell you what to do.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say the best advice is don't take advice from somebody who's never run a business,
Yeah.
or had their own thing, you know what I mean?
Or successes.
Parting words of wisdom, man.
Man, parting words of wisdom. Love the show. Love the fact that it's Texas focused. Texas local talent.
Yep.
Born and raised San Antonio. I'm gonna die here. Texas is where it's at. I've been to California once, and was just recent. Like I said, back in October. I didn't know what to expect when I went over there, but Texas is where it's at, man.
Yeah.
Our food is second to none. And people. Yeah, we're a good middle ground, man.
It just feels more at home here. And I don't know if it's because I've lived here my whole life or what, but I'm with you there. Place where everybody can find you online is
rockitsolar.com.
That's Rocket with an I.
Rocket with an I. Yeah, that's the website. I'm on all the social media outlets as Rockit Solar.
Okay.
YouTube is under the Rocket Factory.
Rocket Factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Rocket Factory.
That
So I went
makes
a little
sense.
different there,
Is it going to incorporate several different businesses?
Yeah, so
Is that why it's factory?
The idea was just entrepreneurs, similar to what you got going on. The idea with that YouTube channel. I haven't put a whole lot of stuff in there just yet. I'll jump on every once in a while, do a quick little something, a thought or whatever that pops up. I'll throw something on there. But the idea with that channel is, that it'll be small business, entrepreneur, folks.
Yeah. Okay.
In general, not just solar, but that's why the Rocket Factory,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, there any questions that I didn't ask that I should have?
No, solar's booming. Like I said, I don't feel that. I mean, you asked some great questions. I think that I just want folks to know and understand, that solar's here.
And it's not the damn get rich quick scheme that everybody's, it's so polarizing, this damn subject.
It is. It is.
Why wouldn't you want to save money on your electric bill, people?
Yeah, that's it. It's real simple. California went mandatory. And when I use that example, people will say, yeah, but California sucks or whatever.
Yeah.
But different opinions,
Sure.
right? But why would they have done that?
California is ridiculed for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like you had said earlier before we started, or maybe even after, their new builds, they're requiring a certain amount of solar on new builds, right? So they've also banned the sale of combustion engine vehicles like in 2030 or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
Like I said, they get ridiculed for a lot of stuff. However, I will say this. Being in the construction industry myself, let's say you want to build a structure. Let's say you want to build a house. You submit plans for permit, and then you got to meet a certain building code.
Right.
That building code is derived from lots of things.
Yeah.
Some of those things are um, uh, the access to better materials than we had,
Right.
40 years ago. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
require you to use a certain type of gypboard in bathrooms because it's not going to be damaged if water gets to it. 30-year roofs, there's a 20-year roof. There's different composite shingle. There's all these different available materials now. And I think you're right using California as an example with this, because it's only going to be a matter of time before it's a requirement.
That's it.
Building a commercial building right now is, and you know what? It's interesting because this is something that I have a lot of experience in. Building a commercial building right now is, it's highly dictated. It's highly massaged, I guess you would say, by the local municipality.
Yeah.
If you go to Timbuktu and say, hey, I want to build this commercial building, they're going to say, okay, well, our codes say if you want to build in our city, you need to have X amount of glass on the front of your building,
Right.
X amount of stone, X percentage amount of brick or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that glass needs to be a certain type of R value, which it needs to have this much resistance to solar or whatever.
Yeah.
It is only a matter of time before one of those lines is going to say how much power are you generating from your solar array?
That's it.
Not do you have solar panels or not?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So-
here. It's here. It's now. It's where we're at,
Well, I don't know. I feel like I got a lot out of this. I enjoyed you coming in, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, I
And,
appreciate you too, man. It was good. It was good to be out here, and I thank you for having me out on what is number 13, right?
Yep, it's episode number 13.
I love it. Yeah, 13. 13's a great
Lucky
number for
13.
me. Yeah.